Hey you, welcome back to KADAR FM. Today I'm joined by Amy and Beth.
Hello.
Howdy. How are you doing?
I've forgotten how to do these. It's been a very long time since we've recorded one. Our podcast is sponsored by our most delightful patrons. People like Greg's.
Is that it? The whole company,
Aaron
Greg's?
J. Miller, Tim Tam, Emma S., Sarah Monk. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. We would not be able to do this or make High Hopes That Rolls without your support.
We get to live our best lives because of y'all.
And literally keep the lights on at the moment.
So, it's very... So, for some context for you, dear listener, it is, by the time you're listening to this, it'll be, I don't know, July sometime, I think. And it has been very hot and very sweaty for several weeks already. And it's deeply uncomfortable.
I've noticed it more today than I have any other day. I think it's because I've had like a lot of hot drinks today and we've been speaking about it. So
well, also we've got like a proper heat wave at the moment. Like it's 30 degrees where I am. It's sticky.
And we all have all the windows closed because we care about audio quality.
And we live above Satan, so
yes,
likes to make himself known.
Now, a lot of our listeners are in the United States. Hello to you if you are there, or if you are one of the couple of people I know that are in Australia. I'm sure you're thinking, guys, it's only what is it, 27 degrees or something? That's
Celsius, yeah.
Fucking nothing. Y'all can't even handle it.
No, we
would
can't.
be terrible over here. I would posit you this: we don't have any aircon.
Nope.
And also, we're just really pathetic.
Well, I was going to say, also, you are right. We can't handle it. I'm hot and I'm sticky.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
I'm a goth in summer, so I'm like actually dying.
And you know, we're not designed for this kind of weather as a nation. You know, like we're north of Montreal. It shouldn't be 30 degrees here.
Yeah, a bit like before we started this call, I mentioned to Jenny that it is as hot in our flat as it normally is in Xenia, our lizard's cage.
Wow.
So that's lovely. We're enjoying it.
She's
enjoying
having a
it.
Great time.
She is. She's rolling around our flat right now.
Oh, you should get her like a tiny little harness and take her outside. She would love that shit.
We used to take her outside in Matt's parents' garden.
Oh, she's so cute.
Although it made her very stressed because, you know, there are birds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. And then she'd just try and eat everything. So
I imagine that when she gets very, very warm, she just like expands even further. Like she just goes full on puddle.
when she gets really hot, she sources, like looks for bodies of water and gets in them.
Aww.
So the cat's bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
Have you guys taken Boo out at all since the last time you mentioned it, or is she not really bothered?
She loves to like look out the windows and stuff, like if you hold her up. So we've tried to take her out a bunch of times, but like we'll get like out the front door and she'll immediately like turn around and just start like petting at it, like no.
Yeah.
I wish to return now.
It's too weird out here. I'm done. She can probably smell like all the neighbouring cats or something. She's like, I'm not used to that. I'm used to having
Also,
my own
there's
space.
like cars, you know, like we live on a road. She's not used to roads.
Yeah. Well,
She's pretty
not
good
used to
though.
traffic.
For context, Boo is the cat. Boo is the business cat.
It's not some secret friend that we have hiding in Beth's flat.
And
She is a cat. Big old fuzzy boy.
She's a very regal old lady who used to live basically on a farm, right? So, I mean, I remember we were all super worried about her transitioning to being like an indoor flat cat, but like,
yeah,
man,
she's thriving.
She loves it.
She is thriving.
I mean, you guys give her so much attention that it's just all she could ever ask for, really.
She is incredibly needy. Like, she's a very vocal cat. She likes to get like really violent pets in the face. Like, you know, she likes a punch in the face. Like, so vocal that you can have conversations with her. Like, she'll meow at you.
Amazing.
And you can, you know, you'll be like asking generally in the flat, oh, does anyone want a cup of tea? And Boo will meow at you, and you're like, oh, you want a cup of tea? And you know, and she like full conversations I had with this cat.
I love her fucking scream meows. Oh my god, they kill me. They're so funny. Or like when she's howling in the middle of the night, and you're like, for God's sake.
So we have to we keep our bedroom door open because she likes to sleep in our room. But we like prop it open so she can't push it all the way open with our bin. But our bin is made of metal. So at like 3 a.m, here she comes. She like kicks the door into the metal bins. It's like boof, boof. And then she's like, meow. At like 3 a.m. Like all the time.
Oh, she's such a drama queen. I do truly love her.
She's such a good lady though. I love her so much.
I remember the last time I stayed around your flat, and I like had my blow up bed next to her bed, and I like reached over to like give her a pet, and then she like punched my hand and hissed at me. I was like, all right, I'll leave you alone then, I guess.
Get out of my bed.
I was like, bitch.
Oh, we were really worried when we first got Boo and like Xenia out together. Like we thought that Boo might chase her or something.
I thought Boo was going to eat her.
Yeah, like I really thought, because like she was so used to like catching birds and mice and stuff, so we really were worried to have them out at the same place. But like they don't care at all about each other.
I think like she just learnt that. Oh yeah, that's another house pet.
She kind of like Xenia kind of freaks Boo out. Like if Xenia like runs towards Boo, Boo like fucks off. She's like, no, I don't understand this rock. It keeps running at me.
Yeah, I mean, like there is no sort of natural variation where a house cat and a bearded dragon would exist in the same sort of place, is there, apart from within domesticated settings.
And Xenia's really good at like she'll run really quietly, like she'll just be sneaking up behind her, and Boo turns around and like actually shits herself. Where did it come from?
I remember when we introduced the cats to our tortoise that my dad found on a road. It was a domestic tortoise. It escaped from a house, and nobody, like, there was nothing to be like, hey, I've lost my pet tortoise. So we just adopted the tortoise, and then like we let him out and we put him on the pavement, and then the cats were looking at him and they're like, what the hell's that? And then he started moving really fast towards them. They're like, ah, shit. Like,
this rock is coming.
They were like, now we're done. His name was Terry. He was,
of course,
my cousin adopted him from us because we weren't adequate tortoise parents. So
they're pretty hard to look after.
He's now living with my cousin. She gives him all the love that he could ever desire. He's a good boy.
Sorry, how old is Terry?
I don't know how old he is because obviously we didn't buy him from a baby. We found him on the road. Well, my dad found him on the road. It's so typical of my dad to find like some stray animal and just bring it home.
Here,
like,
child, do you want this?
My first cat was a feral cat that they adopted. Her name was Turnip because guess what? She turned up.
Turn up. So cute.
That makes me think of like, you know how like racing horses have all got like really weird names, like like at least your weirdly named cat has like a story. Why is your cat called Turnip, right? As opposed to like, why is your horse called like Old Man Sprinting or whatever? Like that's not a name.
My horse was called Helga because she came from Austria.
I never got to meet Helga.
Looked like a rhino. She was a big gal.
There's some pictures of Matt like riding her, and he's looking both excited and stressed.
It's so funny because like they all came down, and obviously this is when I still had the horses. Just realised none of this conversation is to do with D&D. I suppose we'll get there in a minute. But anyway, I still had the horses and we were looking after them, and I obviously had to go out and do the horse duties. And the way that our yard was set up is you could have the horses walking around and they wouldn't be able to get anywhere, so I'd just let them wander around while I was cleaning out the stables. And Matt goes up to Helga and he's like petting her, and I grab his leg and I throw him up on top of Helga, and then he's like, oh my god, this is so cool but also really scary.
I'm so high up.
That was ages ago. My god.
It was probably like
a long
first
time ago
or
that was.
second year of uni.
I think it was first year maybe.
Sorry, I was just googling some examples of like racing horse names, and it turns out that I mean, I don't know why this is surprising to me, because it makes sense that you have to register your racing horse, right? Because they're worth a lot of money, and they're worth money based on their breeding and their pedigree, right?
Yeah.
So there is like, you have to see if your horse name is available, like you would see if your username.
You register your horse Susan4844 _7.
This distinguish each horse from others in a race and allows bloodlines and pedigrees to be more easily traced. A horse will also need to be registered with a unique name if it is to be used for breeding purposes, which is why you end up with weird names that I've just seen, like California Chrome and Spectacular Bid, or I'll Have Another. That's not a name.
Those poor horses.
That's abuse.
Well, those are their registered names, and so most horses will have a normal name, but they'll have a show name or a registered name, just so, like you say, you can distinct them from each other. Well,
and also so that you don't have to say, "How are you today? I'll have another. I hope you're doing well." There's no like cutesy pet way of shortening "I'll have another," is there?
I had a pony called Stumpy because he was short. Yeah, horses have to have passports. It's the same as microchipping a dog or a cat. I think you can get horses microchipped, but my horse Helga, she had brands. She got branded, poor gal.
I feel like getting your horse microchipped is sort of like, it doesn't really work, because if your horse runs away, there's only so many places you could return it to.
This is nothing to do with D&D.
That's okay. This podcast isn't necessarily about D&D.
I was going to say, are they ever about D&D? Really?
I know, but like this isn't like the equestrian channel, is it? It's
well, clearly not, because I didn't know anything about horses until this moment. Sure. I mean, we can talk about Dungeons and Dragons if you so wish. Not last time, but on the very first episode of KADAR FM, I asked Alex and Jazz what their characters' favourite colours were, which is going to be slightly harder for you two because you've both got two characters. And then also I'm going to stab a guess that Amy, your real life favourite colour is maybe purple or black, and Bess is yellow.
Yes.
I'm actually moving away. I'm moving away from purple. I'm becoming more of a teal person. I like.
I see.
I like
a transitional phase.
Yes, I like teals and blues. Because they're really pretty colours. I mean, I still like purple. Purple's alright, but it just kind of reminds me of my ongoing emo phase that I can't seem to grow out of. So I'm trying to become a better person.
Amy, the only way forward is to embrace your emo.
Accept it. It's just who you are.
I'm like trying to be goth, but I was like born emo, so it's kind of like, we're trying to get there, but some days it's achieved. Most days I'm a trash pile.
I have an answer for this one. Gwing's favourite colour is, she doesn't have one because she's an adult.
Yep.
And Terra's is probably like reds and oranges, warmy, earthy colours. That's kind of her thing.
I feel like Gimgar doesn't really have a favourite colour because she's a pile of trash. But Hashaan, I feel like I say orange and blue. It's because I associate that with her dice. So, but I feel like those are very Hashaan colours. So.
But she won't publicly announce it because she is also an adult who doesn't have a favourite colour.
Exactly.
But yes, you were right, Jenny. My actual favourite colour is yellow. It's very happy.
Banging.
It's a nice colour. I like it. Was it that you got like Dodie yellow? That like Jodie the singer, she like claimed her.
Oh yeah,
own,
there's a
like,
very specific
shade
shade of
yellow.
dirty yellow. Yeah.
She has a Pantene swatch.
It's a nice colour. I like me some yellow.
Color.
I feel like that's the name of a drug. Is it? I like me some yellow.
I like
Is that the name of a drug?
No, Amy, it's the name of a colour.
No, it's probably the name of a horse though.
I like me some yellow. Makes me think of yellow fever. Fever, which is not a good thing.
No,
It's gross.
Very unpleasant.
Yes, the yellow.
Oh, okay then.
It does, however, bring back the Coldplay
Oh no.
song.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I buffered for a second. I was like, flipping through my brain playlist, and I was like, found it.
Man, I'm very grateful that Ollie is there to Google things for us whilst we're talking, but I also feel very sorry for him, because earlier he had to Google Super Seducer, because none of us can remember the name.
Man. Oh, I just looked into the cupboard and I can see your Keith Lemon just screaming.
Keith
He's like-
Sure. Excuse.
No,
Oh,
it's John Lemon.
John
Excuse
Lemon.
me.
Keith Lemon.
Oops.
There's a big difference.
Oh my
On Lemon.
God.
I am so sorry. It's because of that terrible comedian who is called Keith Lemon.
Now I'm going to explain that when we were studying to be when I was studying to be a prop maker, we had this a unit about pattern making, and so for that we focused on puppets, because you have to pattern puppet skin and stuff, blah blah blah. Anyway, I made a Muppet style, like a fleecy puppet, with basic shapes that was essentially it was a John Lennon caricature, but I made it yellow for some reason.
He was John
and now
Lemon.
John Lemon.
He's so good.
He's really cool. I really like him. I remember putting his glasses on my face and then being completely shocked that I couldn't see through them.
Yes,
because I thought they were actual. I thought they were like actual sunglasses, and I put them on. I was like, ugh.
No. I was like, I do remember very clearly that they were just like, it was armature wire, that I had wrapped some bright orange cord around, like yarn, right? And the lenses were like bits of vacuum formed plastic that I had painted black on the underside, so that the shiny side faced outwards. And I remember like having this very long conversation with the tech Dave, who
Bless Dave.
God bless Dave, basically taught me everything I know. We had this very long conversation about doing it properly, about what is the best way to get the shiny black surface to make it look like glasses, and like we had this conversation about different kinds of spray paints, and then like different finishes, and how you could do this, and like maybe put some resin over it, and like all this conversation. And then Matthew Kemp just turns up and is like, just paint the other side. And we were like, yep, that's it. Yep, paint the other side.
Yeah. That's all of our degree though. It feels like you spend really long time like with your tutors, like carefully discussing things, and then someone else enters the room and goes, have you heard of this? And you're like, oh piss.
Oh, piss, yeah.
Like I've got to do it that way.
They were all so good though. I remember because I practically lived in your prop department, even though I wasn't a student in your course.
But like, you were a student. You weren't like some lurker at the university.
I was a student at that uni. I just wasn't on their course. But like, I remember watching you guys like build these puppets. It was so cool because like Beth, you made Frida Kahlo, which was so good.
Man,
She was
such
so
a
good.
puppet.
It's kind of terrifying though. I mean, the puppet, Frida Kahlo was also kind of terrifying, to be fair.
Didn't Matt do Christopher Lee?
He did.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah.
And then Jazz did
Elton John.
Elton John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
who I always want to call John Elton.
Oh god, and then Liam made Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe. Yeah.
Oh,
Man, she
terrifying.
was scary.
See, the scariest thing about all of this is that, like, in everyone's, like, parents' attics now, or, like, some weird box in their house, you'll open it and there's, like, just the head of a puppet.
I remember we
Just
went
staring
around
at you.
Katie's house once, and she was showing us her student room, and she opened the cupboard and was like, yeah, and I put this poster in here, and there's just like David Attenborough, the puppet, hanging upside down, staring back out the cupboard at me, and I'm like, excuse me, Katie?
Oh god, for a really long time, Liam kept Marilyn Monroe in his drawer,
Yeah.
and occasionally he'd be like, I'd be like, oh, hey Liam, do you have this specific tool? And he'd be like, oh yeah, it's just in my drawer. And you'd open it, she's just staring at you with her dead eyes.
Yeah.
Oh god.
The worst
Oh,
thing
no.
about her is that I seem to remember that like the resting state was that her mouth was open.
Yep. Yeah.
So it would just
Yeah.
be like staring at you with its mouth agape, with just like this head on the table.
Yeah, it
Man.
was a weird time.
Yeah.
I've got a video of Jazz where she's like, I think she's inside a coat, and Marilyn Monroe is sitting on top of her head, and she's got like the puppet hands sticking out the
Oh,
end
God,
of the coat
yeah.
arms, and she's like wiggling around the room. It's so funny.
We did so much weird stuff at uni.
God, what a good time. Uni was like so much fun.
Most of what we did at uni was like, spend ages making this thing and getting really annoyed about making this thing, and then the rest of it was putting that thing on your head. Or like,
Yeah. Whatever Matt skinned Christopher Lee with was like, it was like he made like a tube and then pulled it over the head
oh
of the
god,
puppet.
yeah, no,
And
that
then
was-
he pulled it was like a really long tube, so he
Yeah.
just put the puppet on his head and then pulled the tube down over his own face, so it looked like Christopher Lee had like a man's face growing out of his neck.
Oh, it was
I mean,
It's so
Matt is
bad.
just Christopher Lee, though, isn't he? Matt's
Yeah.
a young Christopher Lee.
Yeah, well then, because then he started like running around shouting Lord of the Rings quotes like he was fucking Saruman, and like his eye, like acting as if the puppet's eyes were his eyes, right? So his whole body would swing towards you.
I love it. I just love it so much when Matt goes feral. It's so funny. Like, Matt will just be like super chill, having a in his own bubble, and then all of a sudden he just explodes, and we're all like, "What is happening?" Oh, it's so funny.
He's real odd to live with. It's so wild every day.
Beth, I just love how you just don't acknowledge it anymore. Like, it just goes straight over your head.
just insane, like feral depravity, just met with like stony blank face, nothing.
It's like Jazz crying in the corner, Phil's like egging him on, and you're just like, whatever.
It's
so
like
good.
it's like having an 8-year-old child, when they start going like real crazy. If you like play into it, they don't stop. You just have to pretend it's not there.
A stupid
Eventually
video where
they calm
Matt's like,
down.
God, we got so much stuff on Matt, Jesus Christ. But like, one good example is where Matt's like on the floor and he's pretending he's fallen and he can't get up, and you like offer him his hand, he just strokes your hand really gently, and then you're like, whatever, you just leave him alone. He just sits there and he's like, help me, I can't get up. It's just like,
That boy.
I think Jazz constantly lives in fear.
Yeah, that poor girl.
Well,
God.
there is also a partial amount of blame to lay for Jazz's just sort of jumpy state on you anyway, Amy, right? Like, let's be
It's
honest
so
here.
easy.
The abuse starts with you.
Oh God, I'm awful. Like, people being jump scared is the funniest thing to me. It's awful, but I can't. I will literally pee myself from laughter because I think it's so funny. And like, but often I would just do things like exist, and that'll be enough to frighten Jazz. Like,
Yeah, it really does not take much to make Jazz jump. Like, when you enter a room or you're like, entering the corridor that she might be near, you have to be like, Jazz, I am entering the room.
I know.
Or she will shit herself. And even, to be fair, sometimes you'll go, Jazz, and she goes, ugh! And you go, I have to let you know I'm here. This is me doing it.
Yeah.
My favourite thing is when I'm talking to Jazz and then I'll like raise my voice at a word. And she jumps us over.
Yeah, you'd be like, what are you having for dinner tonight? Is it sausages and mash? And it'll scare Jess so badly.
But then again, I'm like, you and Ollie have only got to exist in the same flat as me, and it's enough. Like, I was brushing my teeth a couple of like weeks ago, and all of a sudden I wasn't like paying attention, and I turned around, Ollie's there, and then I like almost died.
Yeah,
Real toothbrush
just
across
the
the room.
way that our flat works though is that I can stand in the bathroom brushing my teeth with my back against the wall and then be faced with infinite darkness beyond the border of the bathroom. And like occasionally, like the other night, for example, I could see that our bedroom door was open, and I was like, okay, well that means that he is presumably no longer in the bedroom. When he came round the corner to enter the bathroom from the toilet, I almost died. Like, I thought, I was like fully ready to meet my fate. I was like, I'm going to be on my favourite murder and it's not going to be a good thing.
My favourite's when I'm in the kitchen and I'm listening to my music. I listen to my music quite loud. I forget that the kitchen door's not soundproof at all. And I'll be like in my bubble and I'll be like, you know, singing away in my head or like out loud, either or. And then I can't hear any of you walking towards the kitchen. It's just suddenly the door opens, it's really loud. And then I'll be like, ah! I'm like, oh God!
I feel like every conversation I have with you, I have to sort of I had to sort of program it so that the first part is not very important and very easily skipped over or very easily repeatable, because ultimately the first part of whatever I'm saying is going to be lost under you being like, why? I'm like, because I also exist. I also live here.
My favourite reaction is like in our old flat, because the door was right behind you when you're at the oven. I'd be like making something. I'd be just completely zoned into what I was doing, and then either you or Ollie would turn up, and then I'd be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And like, you haven't even done anything. You've just appeared.
Yeah.
Man, I've not even seen your new flat yet. It's very sad.
It's all right. It's not very soundproof.
It's fine.
No,
I guess.
It's much more homely. It's not soundproof. Like,
man.
Fucking, everyone on this postcode, we know what they sound like. We know who they are. We know where they live.
You know the names of the children in the flats, apparently.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah, well, only because their mum shout at them.
Yeah.
The other day, I had the window open, sat at my desk, I was working, it was a nice time, and the kid that lives downstairs from us was getting ready to, she was on her bike, right? She was waiting for her mum to join them so they could go on a bike ride. And I heard this child say, Mum, if you're not ready soon, you will die. I was like, oh.
You live above Satan.
My favourite one was when I was in my room, just like, you know, doing whatever I was doing, and then I hear downstairs, you know, like, put your shoes on, we're going for a walk to clear our heads. And I was like, that's very patient of you. I would have just been murdered by now.
Sounds like a calm thing to say. Calm thing to scream.
My mum would have just told me to shut the fuck up, you know, like. But whatever, I guess. Everyone's different.
Would you like a question? I guess it's not really a question for you two, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Nico on the Discord said, have you had to veto any plans before? And I assume that they're talking about any sort of group decisions that High Hopes or Rolls have made. I can't think of an occasion where y'all have been talking about something and I've been like, no.
Yeah, no, I don't think you ever have.
What do you mean by that? Or like, tell us that what we were talking about was wrong? Or
like you've actually had to say, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you have like gently reminded us of the rules of the world in which we live.
Yeah.
I have done that several times, yes.
let me just remind you that physics exists.
Yeah. Or like we're 45 minutes into the conversation and Matt's getting frustrated, so he's like, well, fine, we'll just kill everybody. And I'll be like, and then the game will be over and
we'll be bad people.
And he's like, yeah, no. But I never had to like fully tell you no.
Yeah, like you normally set up the situations so as that there's not really an option that isn't doable.
Yeah.
And normally if we decide to do something that's like, a bit odd or a bit hard to achieve, you'll sort of tailor it to actually fit how it would work.
Or you will just gently remind us of the consequences that will follow if we continue to act stupid. But I think that's like the extent that you go to, really. And then if we choose to ignore you, then you make us suffer.
Yes. Man, y'all, I just reminded myself of chapter 2. I'm very excited.
Oh, man.
Oh, we're so close. We're so close. Like, I can
Well,
say that
like,
confidently. Oh, yeah, by the time this comes out, maybe.
Who knows? I don't
Hopefully.
know. I don't know when this is coming out. Maybe it is out or maybe it isn't. But if it is out, I hope you watched it and you enjoyed it. We worked really hard on it.
It'll either be done or it'll be very, very close.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll notice that Alex is not joining us today, and it's because he is busy doing that spicy work. So spicy.
Guys, we've worked so fucking hard on this. It's so good.
Man, there are so many bits about it that I just really truly love, and I know I went back to watch chapter 1 like last night or something, and I got maybe a minute into it and I was like, no, I can't watch this anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to being horrified by chapter 2 in some point in the future.
But like, we've all been involved in this episode somewhere or another, whereas we haven't been in 0 and 1. And like, I feel like we've all put like so much more into it. Like, like there'll be times where Alex is like, no, we can do better, do this again, because I know that you can do it better. Like, we're not really, like, we're working really hard on it, and it's super exciting.
And it's also like chapter 0 and chapter 1 are pretty fucking great considering how small the team was then, and also like I still think they're pretty fucking great, but this episode is such a massive step up compared to the other two. Not to slander the other two at all, because they're great and I still love them, but this episode is so advanced in comparison. It's so good, guys. So good. And like, we've all improved massively. Like, the more we do it, the better we're getting at it, which makes me so excited for future episodes, because like, I don't know, by episode 5, God knows what that's going to be and what that's going to look like. You know what I mean? Like,
there's some stuff coming up in the narrative that I can't help but think about. Like, what's that gonna look like? We like sort of every day we're sort of proving to ourselves that we are capable of delivering the thing that we imagined when we were playing it.
Yeah. And we're so much quicker at doing it now. Like, we've got our methods down. We know how to get it done quickly. And like, considering that we kind of just like chucked Matt and Beth into it and expected them to know what to do straight away, you guys have really come through. Like, I can't imagine where we would be without you guys helping us out.
I mean, I was thinking about the stuff that we were doing like right at the beginning and how worried we were about getting it done. And like how like nervous we were, and like I remember at one point Alex had to ask us to redo a thing at the beginning. We were like, oh god, we failed, this is terrible. But like now anything that we have to redo, we're like, yes, we know we can do it better. Like we were sloppy the first time, we'll just do it. Like, we've gotten much faster, much more efficient.
But like, even with this episode, I look at the frames right at the beginning of the episode, and then I look at the ones I'm doing now. It's such an improvement just from one episode. Like, it's mental. Like,
I'm so proud of everyone. It's
so am I. Like, we've really, really pulled through. And like, we got Jazz in to help me with some of the frame colouring, and she picked that up so quickly, and you did as well. And like, it's so good. It's so helpful having more people on the team, because it's no longer just 2 people doing it. Like, I mean, it was mostly Alex, and then I would like do a little bit to help out. But like, now that we've got like potentially 3 more people, well, we got 2 more people, who you and Matt, and then like obviously Jazz will come in when I need the help to do some frames, and it helps so much. You guys are so valuable to this. It's unbelievable. Sorry, I'm
Very
babbling on.
excited.
But
No, I like it. It's fine. Carry on.
Yeah, all of that babble you were complimenting. So good.
And also, if we didn't have Alex, oh my god.
Alas, it just wouldn't happen.
No,
Would not happen.
Yeah,
I mean,
shout out
it
to
might.
Mr.
It would just be very, very slow.
our exponent.
Yeah, he's not even
oh.
here. He can't turn down our compliments.
Yeah.
Oh, precious
Anyway.
bread boy. Oh man.
Precious
I
love.
was just going to conclude us there. We've been chatting for a while and it's getting very sweaty in here, so I was
Yes.
going to wrap it up. Thank you
Thank
very
you for
much for
joining us.
listening to this episode of KADAR FM. We once again brought to you by our very generous and very I was going to say humble, but that's not quite. Let's go with beautiful. Our beautiful patrons. Thank
Hell
you
yeah.
for your support. You can join them for other behind the scenes content and extra stuff. We post things like deep dives into our D&D kits or like pictures of our workspaces, that kind of thing. You can get all of that on patreon.com/shriekingwizard.
Yeah, man. We enjoy showing you what
Oh,
we get
yeah.
up to.
You can follow us on Twitter at @swizardco, and we're on Instagram at @theshriekingwizardco. And if you're interested in hearing what the characters have to say for themselves, then you can head on over to highhopeslowrolls.tumblr.com. Thanks very much for listening. We'll be back hopefully in a week or two.
Oh yeah.
Not sure what the schedule is anymore.
All up in the air.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.